Hi everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and today, I'm going to show you some interesting things about this truck that I found out yesterday because I had a phone call with my buddy Travis that is kind of an expert on old Ford trucks, whether it's dead sides or bull noses or whatever, and because I wanted to talk to him actually about this, and plus also I haven't chatted with him for a while, so it was nice to kind of talk with him because we had a good hour-long phone call. Actually, it was great. So anyways, let's go over the truck and show you kind of what's kind of weird about it. So this truck is a 1976, although it's a late 75 build because it was built in November of 1975. And we can see that from, if we go inside really quick and look at the sticker, you'll see right there 11 of 1975, right? So that's pretty neat. But then some of the weird stuff. So you have a switch down here of, hey, look at that, for your dual tanks. But then there's also a switch up here. But this switch is not hooked up to anything. This switch was, but yet there's no evidence of there ever being a secondary tank, because there should be a filler, because with the secondary tanks, they were actually put in the cab, in behind the rear, or in behind the seat, and there would be a filler like right here, basically, right, give or take, and yet it's not there. So that's kind of weird. There's no evidence of it, and you can tell it's not been bodywork because look at the rest of the truck, right? It's a pretty rough truck. But anyway, if we look at the other side again, there's no evidence of there ever being that. So that's kind of a weird thing. But then, something else that I found out is if we take a look at the VIN tag here, which is right there, feel free to decode it if you want, but the C8 here for the axle code indicates that this is a Dana 60 with 373s and a limited slip diff. So it's actually a really nice rear gear ratio in this truck with the Dana 60. I thought it was a Dana 70 rear end. Turns out the Dana 70s are more reserved for like the 1-ton trucks, apparently. I didn't know that. Where this is a 3/4 ton because it's an F250. Also, apparently, depending on year, like earlier than this was up here, if memory serves, the badge, where they moved it down here in these years. Also, the signal lights, starting in 76, actually, no, correction, from 73 to 76, were these, they were clear. But on the 77 and later, they were actually amber. So that's one of the ways you can tell some of the earlier ones. Also, starting in, I believe it was 76, they started to do the black surround here for the grille. Where earlier models, it was just the same kind of gray plastic that would have been on the rest of it. So that's pretty neat to actually find too. And apparently this front bumper is from a 78 or a 79 as well. So there's a little bit of oddities that way. Like most of it's original, but then this bumper is different, right? Driving this truck poses its own little interesting quirks as well, because it's got the 4-speed manual in it, right? Which is an NP 435. Now, normally it would dictate that, you have the clutch down and, you start off in first, then go second, third, fourth. But no, to be honest, first is just a crawling gear. You don't have problems with that at all. Like if you want to use it, it's like a 6.69 if memory serves gear ratio. So it's just, like I said, just for crawling or like pulling a stump out of the ground, right? So actually you start off in second and you just slip the clutch a little bit and then you can actually get it to move pretty easily. So that I didn't know. And then reverse is, all the way back here and down. It's pretty easy to actually get it into gear, because first is non-synchronized too. So just go second, third, fourth. It's actually a decently tight ratio box. And once you figure that out, it's not too bad. The radio doesn't work, or at least, correction, it does, but, well, you can't actually change the station, because you can see that little tiny indicator moves ever so slightly, but not enough to actually change the station properly. So, can't change the radio station on this. So I do have a stereo to throw in this truck, actually. It's an old Learjet stereo, so it's pretty neat. But then, something that is fun, though, is when you fire this thing up. And again, this is actually a cold start. I haven't started today. So sometimes you'll actually have to put it into the accessory position and then put it over, right? So then go 1, 2, 3, 4. Fires right up. But then, well, check this out. So with the clutch, right, if I depress the clutch, it gets a little stuck and then bounces back. So that's a little interesting of a quirk. But then I can remove the key while it's running. But you can't actually start it with a screwdriver. I mean, if you wanted to damage it, you could. But yeah, so that's kind of a fun thing as well with this truck. Under the hood, actually, she has a wonderful, wonderful engine. Which, also, to pop the hood, you just do that, right? There's nothing inside to pull. You know, this is old school, and it's got old school hinges and stuff like that. But you have this 300 inline 6. And now this is probably, actually it's not probably, it's like guaranteed. This is top 5 all time for overall reliability of any engine made, period. Because for me, how I would kind of dictate that, in no particular order, you'd have this 300 inline 6, you'd have a 7.3 IDI, you'd have the 12-valve Cummins, a 24-valve Cummins, although the 12-valve is actually more reliable, so I wouldn't put the 24-valve in that conversation, to be honest. Like a Mercedes 300D, and the old Toyota, like 2.4 liters, I think they were, something like that, diesels that they made back in the 80s and 90s. So that's like sort of my top 5. But then another weird quirk is that it's got a Chrysler washer fill bottle in this Ford for some reason. So that's a little odd. And then seeing this oil bath air cleaner, I know for a fact that this is not original. Now, this could have come off of something industrial or that it just off of an earlier car is my guess. But it's kind of weird, though, because it actually does have a PCV system that goes to there. Because you have one PCV going to there, and actually, correction, that's the vent. The vent on the back side of the valve cover, you know, comes over and goes into there. And it's got a little filter in the middle here. It's kind of an interesting design. But honestly, like, it's such a sweet little truck. Right, and yes, she definitely needs a good amount of work, but she'll be worth it, 100%. And this is a vehicle where you have to slam everything, you know, the doors, the hood, all that stuff. Otherwise, it's gonna like rattle on you, and you don't want that as much. But, and like I said, if you want to see, you know, that rear axle, there it is, that Dana 60 in all of its glory with the 373s, and it's fantastic. Now, obviously, somebody painted this in this kind of camo paint job, and they didn't actually do a bad job. But you know, something I am noticing is that it was blue originally. Like, there's some blue here, there's blue all over the cab, even on the back of the cab, there is this dark blue. But what's interesting is I'm also seeing some of this light blue, and I do wonder if this was maybe a two-tone truck, which would also be kind of a unique sort of thing as well. And so with the options that this thing has, though, Travis is pretty sure that this is a special order truck, which is kind of neat to actually find that. Because yeah, and as well, like, that fuel tank is a long range fuel tank that is about 100 liters, maybe a little bit more, because we didn't actually know how much fuel was in that fuel tank when we topped it up. because my buddy put 20 liters in here, then I put 71 liters on top of that. So that's kind of odd. And now the fuel lines will carry, you know, maybe a couple of liters themselves, right? Because it's a pretty long fuel line in a single cab long box with 5/8 line going all the way to the back. So there is that. But yeah, it's a pretty odd duck of a truck, and I love it. You know, and then I did have the dog dish hubcaps, but those were removed. I actually can't get those on properly with these tires that my buddy put on. Now, the one thing is, because I didn't check this side very well though, but is this one like that too? No, actually this tire is okay. But if we take a look at the tire on the other side, because a friend of mine was helping me out a lot by putting these, you know, much better tread, because case in point, this is what it had on it. Not a ton of tread left, but still okay to sort of run, but actually there was some cracking in the sidewall of these as well, which I didn't notice, to be honest, at the time. But this tire right here actually has some cracking in the sidewall as well. So I'm gonna be looking at replacing the tires on this. Like, I'm just gonna try and find some in the junkyard, to be honest, because I can't afford to go buy brand new tires, you know, unless somebody wants to donate me some nice 16-inch tires. That'd be awesome. But otherwise, I'll be junkyard hunting for tires. So yeah, overall though, she's a sweet little truck. And she runs and drives great. As you can see, she started right up on the button. What we had to do to it was fuel filter, both fuel filters, fuel line, and swapped out the carburetor, because I still have that original, well, it's not actually an original carb, it's an Autoline carb, but it's a Carter YFA. Now, my plan with this, so after talking with Travis and doing a little bit of my, research, I think I have a game plan with this truck for the power department, because the 300 inline 6 doesn't produce a lot of power, right? Out of the factory, they were 130 horsepower and 220 torque, but that torque was really down low at 1600 RPM. Now, what I want to do is find a later EFI exhaust manifold for this, because they are a dual exhaust manifold, and without cats or anything like that, it's perfect. So swap that into here, get a nice dual exhaust, make that engine breathe a little better with like 2 1/4, 2.5 inch exhaust, open up the sides, just like it is over there. But I want to get rid of the glass pack and go for like a nice chambered muffler, whether that's a Flowmaster, whether that's a Flow Pro, anything like that. Like, I run Flow Pros in my Mustang and I love it, but that's kind of the thing with this. But then also, talking with him, because he used to play around with these 300 inline 6s back in the day, now he's more into the V8s, which fair enough, I get it. But he actually, all he did was take a 240 head and put it on one of these, which I guess that, like, the 240s had a shorter deck height, so actually that head is closer to, like, has better compression. So as an example, these 300s made 8.0 to 1 compression out of the box, which is kind of low, although it's actually higher than just about any other engine at the time, besides the 200 inline 6 and the 2.3. The 200 inline 6 made 8.7 to 1, and the 2.3 made 8.2 to 1 compression, respectively. Well, the 302 only made 7.5, and I believe the 460 was also in that realm too, as well as the 400 and 3-to-1 modified, somewhere in that range. So yeah, it was kind of a dark time for compression ratios, right? But you swap this to a 240 head, which has the same size valves, but smaller combustion chamber. You go from this is a 76cc, you go down to a 68cc combustion chamber, and it's just a bolt-on upgrade, and it'll put the compression to about 9.1 to 1. Right, that's a huge upgrade that would give me in the neighborhood of around 50 horsepower or so, which would not only make this thing obviously faster, but it'd make it far better on fuel economy too, because you're not having to work near as hard to actually make the vehicle move. Now, there is Something to be said though is just like that's not always the truth, because if you have a fully built engine that is designed for, you know, a bunch of power, that's not really going to be the truth. It's not going to be as fuel efficient. But something like this, where I do just make it a freer flowing exhaust, bump up the compression, and she'll be great. You know, I'm still going to run stock cam. I don't plan on swapping the camshaft in this thing, but who knows? That might be a thing in the future. Something else I thought about as well, again, not doing this, probably, but I've thought about it because, I don't know, I'm getting less and less enthused of turbo swapping Stitch, which is my 81 Mustang. That she's still down right now because after I stripped the head of one of the head bolts on that thing, well, you'll see that video, to be honest, because I videoed it. I haven't edited it together yet, but I still have the clips from, that was about a week ago. So yeah, I need to pull that bolt out, go get a new one, stab that back in, torque everything to spec, and then put everything back together again. So, you know, that'll happen. But like I said, I don't know. I'd love to turbo it, but at the same time, I almost don't want to. But you know, kind of what I want to turbo more to a certain degree is this. Don't put it in a lot of boost. Like that turbo that I have, which is a, what is it, a 5848, I believe, turbo. Now it's a journal bearing. It's not like a nice ball bearing turbo. That's okay. To be honest, I got that sent out to me from Max Speeding Rod, so shout out to them. But the thing is, that turbo would actually go pretty decent in this, and cap it at like 8 pounds of boost, and just have it to where it'll help out with the fuel economy a little bit, and if I want to merge onto the highway, it'll definitely help out with that as well, because as an example, 8 pounds of boost to this would get me in the neighborhood of, and then plus with the 240 head, I don't know, I'd gain right around like 100 horsepower total. Wouldn't be so bad, right? Not so bad at all. So we'll see. Honestly, like I said, I'm not committed on that turbo swap on this truck. I'm not. But then also, obviously, I'm going to do some rust repair. And now the decision is, do I do welding on this cab, or do I contact my buddy Greg, who has, it's either 78 or 79, with a mint cab, and I swap the cab. And then I take the fenders off that truck. And then I have a spare hood. You know? We shall see. But yeah, then also, I have that dual snorkel air cleaner. If you guys are a fan of my channel, you know what I'm talking about. That I traded for some of my other Fox body bits a couple months ago. And I want to put that on here. Now, will I be able to do that? We'll see, because with the one barrel carb, I don't want to actually modify it permanently of the air cleaner itself, because those are kind of rare and they can be a valuable piece, and I'd rather not ruin it by welding it, because a friend of mine actually who welded the subframe connectors into Stitch actually offered his services to modify it for my purposes, but like I said, I'm not really into that as much, unless if he builds me a sort of base that it can just lay on top of, and it would work that way, because then that would be okay. I'd have to talk to Richard about that. But anyways, so besides all that, I hope you guys absolutely enjoy my channel. If you do, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your family, your friends, your cat, your dog. Hell, even if you have a snack, a little snack that goes, right? Share it with them. You know, see if they like my channel. They probably won't, but you never know, right? Again, I need more viewers. But also, go check out in the description. You'll see actually links to Flash Shark Racing and Last Fit with discount codes for 10 and 15% respectively from each. You'll see like Cat 15 for Flash Shark Racing, Cat 10 for Last Fit. Now, Flash Shark Racing has been really good to me, honestly. They have a bunch of like headers and stuff like that. They have cold air intakes. They even have like coolant reservoir bottles you can buy, and I think they're actually having a big sale on that right now. And yeah, now, who knows? That might be one of the next installs. It's a coolant reservoir bottle, because this doesn't have one. It just has a hose that is following the rad and goes straight down to the ground. I'm like, I might actually want something nice to bolt under the hood for that. So we shall see. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please stay safe with whatever you're doing. Make sure that you're not doing anything too sketchy when modifying your vehicle or working on it, because we've all done the stupid thing of jacking up a vehicle, not having jack stands underneath it. Don't do that. Anyways, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!